Good evening. I'm Joshua Free, and welcome to another edition of Mardukite Theatre. The group disappeared one by one through the window, and Jenny bent down to follow. She emerged in a dimly lit room. In fact, none of the windows appeared to be illuminated from the outside. Once they were all through and into the room, Hansen and another member pulled the iron gate back into place and covered the window with black cloth, which was suspended from the ceiling. The door leading out was then opened, and Jenny's eyes had to adjust as the light from the adjoining space flooded in, revealing indiscriminate voices and movement. "Ah," said one of the robed figures in a scratchy-mouthed voice. "It's good to be back home." They filed through the doorway, and the party dissipated as each took off in their own directions, carrying out their usual business. Hansen hung back where Jenny stood, simply taking in what was all around her. The central room in the basement was a wide-open space. Over a dozen robed and hooded figures occupied various chairs, or seemed to be moving about in the midst of various tasks. Bookshelves and cabinets lined one wall. "Can someone please double-check on the solar cells?" a voice rang out. Several desks were all placed in a horseshoe at one end, surprisingly occupied by computer equipment. A makeshift wooden box, housing several small monitor screens, was on a desk nearest her. She recognized some of the images, one being the front of the building she now stood in, and another the driveway leading up to the front gate. There were 9 displays total, each set to watch a critical perspective of the property. "It was a great plan," said a cloaked figure to another as they walked by her, "until, of course, we actually tried it. It wasn't half bad, but apparently the other half was." More peculiar, she supposed, than even the appearance of sophisticated computer equipment among a group of runaways, was that in the other half of the long rectangular space, the half not occupied by the technologies of man, was a square red carpet, perhaps 10 or more feet at each length, marking off a large area of the floor. Corresponding with the dimensions of the room was the base of a metal pyramid frame, open on all faces, reaching its apex near the ceiling. A large blue crystal sphere hung from the center, suspended by a chain net. 4 pillars had been placed several feet from the base of the pyramid on each side, supporting a similarly colored double-termination crystal. Forming a highly reflective ring around the entire area was what appeared to be flat copper and silver plating, in which sat a lining of ring of perhaps hundreds of crystals. "That's got to be the most interesting thing I've ever seen," she said, turning to Hansen, who was simply standing there watching her reactions. "Yeah, me too." "What is it?" Hansen moved away from her all of a sudden, occupied with something else altogether. "I should probably let the owl show you." She followed the direction he was moving with her eyes, looking to see what was happening, when one of the concealed figures close by said in a female voice, "Ha, here comes Stevie Nicks." A girl emerged from the stairs leading up to the main floor of what could be described as some kind of headquarters. This place seemed beyond a normal dwelling space. The girl was not dressed in robes like the rest, nor was she hooded by anything, though she did wear black, as they mostly all did. Her garments were flowing with long sleeves that came down to points, with a deep purple knit shawl hanging over her shoulders. Her hair was also dyed black and purple, cut short aside from the front bangs pulled to the side around her ears. She wore a studded metal leather choker, which did little to reveal the girl's neck, face, and hands. All of her exposed skin was covered in green scaly patches. Hansen and the girl collided with one another and embraced. The girl showered his face with kisses. "Missed you," she said, her thick nasal voice actually sounding of a snake-like hiss. While hugging him, the girl rested her chin on Hansen's shoulder, facing Jenny, who was still standing near the room they came in through. "Is that her?" The couple ended their interlocking position, and Hansen turned to face Jenny. "Yep," he answered, motioning for her to also join them. "Hi," greeted the girl warmly, extending her hand. "I'm Holly. Hansen's told me all about you." Trying not to stare, still being not quite acclimated to the physical appearance of reptilianism, Jenny reached out weakly to receive her handshake. Immediately, Holly took hold of it and pulled herself toward the other, giving her a peck kiss on the cheek. "It's okay," said Holly. "You're going to be okay." The two girls immediately left the main hall to acquaint themselves. They retreated to Holly and Hansen's scarcely furnished bedroom on the ground floor, which the group had turned into like a living barracks. The first thing Holly wanted to know was what Jenny would want to wear while her existing clothes were being washed. This gave Jenny a chance to ask a question she had been wondering since she first saw Holly. "Why is it that you wear this gypsy outfit when the rest of them are wearing cloaked robes?" Holly retrieved a pair of black pants and a black shirt from a drawer beneath the bed in her room and passed it on to the other. Jenny noticed that everything she owned was black, something familiar to her from her home, a place far and different from our colleges and gray uniforms. "Look at me," demanded Holly, as she stood to strike a pose. "Sure, I've got green skin, but I was once considered beautiful by human standards, and to me and to my beau, I still am. I'm not ashamed of my body. Hansen is definitely not ashamed of my body. The others, well, I don't know what to tell you. Some of them aren't as seasoned. Some, like you, are still going through the sickness. Most of them aren't in a position, really, to understand half of what the owl tells us. And maybe the difference with me is I knew Hansen since before I turned green, and I knew Owl before he was the owl." Jenny sighed. "I guess I still don't understand." Well, the world has changed. While the humans have fought to keep up with it by doing the same things they have always done simply because it's the way it's been done, we've gone about things a little differently, out of demand, out of necessity. I mean, come on, you're a woman too. You're not some meathead, unfeeling jock. Don't you feel it? This is not something that is happening to you. It's something that is happening for you. What you have, I know it makes you want to just scream and shout and pray for death, but that's all a passing thing. You are changing. Your cells are changing. Normally this type of evolution would take forever to happen, but, this is how it's happened in the past, according to Owl. It's happening again as some kind of an intervention by some medium. This time, for lack of any better understanding, that intervention came by the same technologies that the human fought to maintain. While the seed had been planted in ancient times waiting to be nourished to life, the world they made created us. Turning around with her back to her new friend, Jenny changed into her new set of clothes, then turned back and asked, "Why am I sick?" Holly laughed. That's just your body, silly, and your mind telling you that you're sick. You're getting some major reconstructive surgery in there, for free. I mean, really, the average human body takes about 7 years to duplicate its cells, and it's the same cell program it always was, just changing a slightly older version of the same. The stresses and foods and energies, they all affect the cells. The mind does too. The owl has taught me a lot about this, about how the mind actually programs the cells. I think that's part of this too, mutating cells that are different than what the human body is accustomed to, rapidly reproducing and programmable. Okay, so I'm sick because your body just doesn't know what to do with itself quite yet, Holly added reassuringly. Just give it time. Just then there was a soft rapping at the door. Holly predicted it would be Hansen and called, "Come in." They both looked on as the door creaked open slowly and Hansen's head appeared through the opening. Hey guys, just wanted you to know evening prayers will commence momentarily." Jenny turned to Holly with pleading eyes. You're kidding me, right?